Hello world, welcome to my YouTube channel podcast named Dragon Speaks. My name is Vin. So right now the time is 11:11 a.m. and it feels so good to finally be able to say that. I know it's 2024 and maybe I am too late to start a YouTube channel. But I do not want to think so. I have always told myself better late than never. So since this first podcast is my introduction to the channel, I will not be speaking about a certain topic or a subject. It will be just my casual introduction to you. It's so important that you know me a little bit before I step into the making of my podcast. So let me also share this with you. I have always wanted to have a YouTube channel from many years ago, but it was impossible to work a job in the corporate and maintain a channel. You cannot master two things at the same time. Since I have more responsibilities towards taking care of myself as well as my family, I have to prioritize earning an income. You know, the usual thing like everyone else. It would have been a disaster if I had to run a YouTube channel as well as work a shift in the corporate industry. I honestly wonder how others manage that because few people work 9 to 5 and yet have the time to create content on YouTube. So you must be thinking, why did I decide to start a YouTube channel now in 2024? Well, let's just say I was probably no longer profitable for the company that I was working for. And this was the time when a lot of companies were laying off employees. So what made me quit? No, I would like to say I did not quit. Instead, I took a week off and just decided to inform myself that I won't be continuing anymore. Almost 13 years in my corporate career, but I could not step up in the game. Why am I saying this? Well, I will be sharing a lot of things in my experience as I keep releasing my podcasts. So Earth Dragon Speaks channel is all about my journey and experience here and in my life. There are so many things that have happened and why it happened. My channel is not based on giving advice. It's more of sharing the experience and analyzing what went wrong and how one can make decisions in a given situation. Forgive me if I do not have a format for my podcast yet. It's a new experience altogether and I am quite unsure as to how I should start. I used to be the one on the other side, like watching and listening. But now I write and speak as well. I used and still consume many videos on YouTube for knowledge and understanding. I will mostly not be editing anything. It will be unfiltered version like how you're hearing it right now. So forgive me if I pause or I'm unable to speak the words at some point. You know what? It feels so scary to be saying so many things on the internet. But I'm just praying it brings faith and hope to some of you out there. I'm currently running this channel on my own as of now, as I want to keep the podcast as authentic as I can. So, there are a few things I went through, and I would like to share here in my introduction with you before I decided to start Earth Dragon Speaks podcast. So, there are phases that I have encountered before I started this channel, And the first phase was the disappointment phase. So, why I'm saying that is because after working for 14 years in the corporate industry and giving my best and honest service in, of course, multiple brands, that being national and international, 2023 was the year that got me thinking about whether this is what I wanted to do or continue. The company I worked for suddenly came up with changes that they did not think they needed in the designation I was in. So these types of incidents are not very new in 2023. Many people I know directly and indirectly were facing these issues. It's the laying off of employees that I'm referring to, which many of you must be aware of or maybe went through the same as I did. So when I was approached in regards to this, I was utterly in shock. I could not process it at that moment. I took 1 week off from work to get back to them, and in that 1 week, I did not stop thinking. Do you know what kind of thoughts came to my mind? Like, why me? What went wrong? Did I not perform well? Why am I so unlucky? But I gained my consciousness a bit and motivated myself and reminded myself of how good I am with my responsibilities at work. I told myself that I had done enough. I am enough. And then I reported back to work and submitted my resignation letter. They were shocked but not disappointed. And I was quick to heal myself from that situation they put me in. Served my notice period and made sure I worked even harder in those last few days. It gave my soul satisfaction, knowing that I have done well, even if they put me in that spot. I moved on, and this was phase 1. The next phase, I'd like to call it as the contentment phase. So, I rarely took a break in my career of 14 years, like the amazing break that some people take for a year or so to find themselves. I have always been jumping from one company to the other for various reasons, which maybe I will narrate or cover in my future podcast episodes. So, this was my first break from that corporate chain that I was somehow ready for. Maybe it was my time. I told myself that. Since I accepted the challenge, it was easier for me to live on. Let me tell you this, I did not regret taking this decision. I have never felt at peace, calm, and happy before. I did not miss anything. At first, I doubted that I may not be able to do this. Maybe in a couple of days and I would have the anxiety to work again. But no signs of that. I was safe. The best days of my life after so many years. The fact that I did not have to follow a routine of waking up, cooking, eating, catching a metro train, walking, work, walking, catching a metro train, back home, cooking, eating, and sleeping. Repeat. My life was a rush. Oh goodness, I cannot even imagine how I managed all that every day. I'm sure there are many of you out here doing the same or have done the same before. However, I felt that for you to get to know me, you need to be part of that journey I encountered. Now you at least have an idea as to why I call this phase a contentment phase. So next is phase 3. I call this the thinking phase, or still the waxing crescent phase, like how we say about a moon, the phase of the moon, the waxing crescent phase. So the sooner you let go, the more clarity fills in your mind. By this phase, my mind was already processing what exactly I wanted to do next. I immediately wanted to start a new YouTube channel of my own. I have always wanted to speak and share my experience with the world so that I can make a difference. There are various scenarios that I went through before starting, like I call it a first practice. So I initially practiced recording myself with the camera and tried different angles. Just started by singing or speaking some random things. I got comfortable and I immediately set up a space for starting with my channel. But not sure why I felt there was a certain pressure to keep seeing myself in the camera, and I got distracted and was unable to follow my purpose. I left it there and continued with researching. So the next one is a practice phase. I call that a practice phase 2. So next, I then changed my mind. I started spending time learning because I thought that was what I needed most before starting. So I consumed a lot of YouTube videos and I learned. From this, I created a channel with the name Dragon Speaks. It took me a while to decide the name of my channel, by the way. I explored the YouTube interface and features. I tried uploading random videos in private just to see how it all works. Yeah. And there is a phase 3, which I want you guys to also know. So I call this the environment phase. So my work location was in the city, and cities are preferred to dwell by many. However, given my situation, I was unable to focus due to the noise and the hustle and bustle, the rent and the bills. So I had to rethink the space I needed to be in my head as well as outside my head. So I decided to save whatever savings I had and move to my hometown with my family. It was a big move, I must say. But since I live in the mountains, the atmosphere here is different from that of a noisy city. It is the kind of headspace I would require for sharing this experience with you. So the earth dragon in me needed a sanctuary. So the next phase after this comes the displacement. So when a person relocates to a new place after many years, the range of emotions and experiences can be quite complex and varied, even if that is your own home. Leaving a familiar place can bring about feelings of nostalgia and sadness. This involves missing the people and places left behind. So initially, I did feel a sense of excitement about the possibilities that a new place may bring. Now comes the stress and anxiety about fitting in and adjusting to the new journey that I am starting. I will not lie to you, I did feel lonely. And the absence of familiar faces and places intensified these feelings. And I never thought that being in my own hometown could be overwhelming. There is a lot to learn and adapt to, from sharing my space with my family members and socializing with them, as well as relatives and old friends. It felt as if I had to start from level 0 at some point. I was at a higher frequency of consciousness than anyone around me. This made me feel so overwhelmed. There is nobody I could share what I feel, just no one. I understood that I was alone in this new journey. I did get a sense of relief moving from a noisy city life to an environment with greenery, but that wasn't enough. At this point, I knew that I could not let the feeling of regret take over me. Instead, I reminded myself that I came here for a reason to be able to help those come out of the dark, or to appreciate the divinity in darkness. So my calling at this point will not allow me to stop what I have intended to start, and I am happy with that. In case you ever are in the situation, just know that all you have to do is allow yourself to adapt to such situations in time. Do not let your emotions take over you, or else you will miss out on what may bring out from this precious opportunity. Over time, you will be able to get back to your routine. It's just that you have to allow those moments to pass by and take care of your emotions during this time. It's very important. So the next phase is the bewildered phase. After going through the 4th phase, the ability to think just stopped. What I mean by this is that it's not that I could not think anymore, but that excitement to start something new, the planning, the practice, all seemed to not catch up. Even though I tried, it only made me feel like I was forcing myself. I could feel the anxiety, sadness, and loneliness affecting my cognitive function as well, and maybe due to this, it was difficult to concentrate. This phase led me to a state of doubt and confusion, especially when I see other people progressing in life and doing what they do. It affected me even more. That's quite funny and weird. But each time my emotions heighten this way, I keep telling myself to keep calm. This way, I was rewiring my brain every time I face such situations. It wasn't easy with so many changes happening at the same time. However, if you speak calmly and gently to your inner self, it works. So, next phase was the intuiting phase, something about intuition. So, I had no choice but to tune into my intuitive feelings or senses. This part is very important for me because I work with my intuition and it's always there with me. So a part of me can feel the chaos as well as the tranquility at the same given time. Imagine that. The chaos was all the new changes taking place in the background, adjusting to all the unfamiliar situations. The tranquility was coming from my faith in God, the source of my inspiration. However, Being an earth dragon, I mean human, is not that easy to adjust to the things we were programmed to do since our childhood. We were taught multiple things right from the time we started understanding as a toddler. And I'm sorry to say this, but I wish my parents understood what they needed to teach their children. So, let's get back to the phase of intuition. I went through a moment where I couldn't feel my intuition coming in. Isn't that weird? It was just blank for me. I have never felt that way before. I mean, it was horrifying. I almost felt like the energy I was carrying all those days just disappeared. I mean, when I speak about those days, I meant the phases that I have gone through, the previous phases before this. Could this be due to the changes surrounding me? I asked myself. I just gently understood that this was probably a sign for me to learn something else. So then the next phase came in where I was acquiring knowledge. One thing about me, if you are following Earth Dragon Speaks, you have to know this about me. I enjoy learning. I have always felt like I am here in this universe to learn about everything around me, if it's possible. Especially something about our emotions. I am very drawn to emotions. I did opt for psychology subjects during my graduation, but I did not pursue higher studies. I have read many books whenever I could. However, I mostly learn online, and YouTube itself is a learning platform, so there's a lot of data that I have consumed so far, and it helps me understand certain things that I cannot think or imagine. So, since I was unable to think and decide on what I should do, I ended up watching and learning online. I think this pretty much sums up what I wanted to share with all of you today. I mean it to be just an introduction, but it came out lengthy. We will have lots to speak, learn, and share. I am hoping to make a difference in this world. There is a purpose I am following, and I am hoping to grow with all of you. Just for your reference, my name is Vin again, and please do support my channel Earth Dragon Speaks by subscribing and considering giving a like if you have remained with me so far. Maybe you can share this podcast with someone who might be just starting like me, or maybe going through these phases that I have gone through. I am always hoping. Grateful to you all. See you again in my next podcast. Until then, take care. Rest if you have to. Log off from your socials if you feel it's too overwhelming. End of the day, you have to think for yourself as well. Live well, my dragons. See you.